Welcome, everybody, to our first edition of Is This Real True Crime? Our first episode with me, Teresa, the Beans,
Hello.
JC3 here. We're going to have Tony the Pope with us a couple times, and Big Joe also with us a couple times throughout this entire series. But our first, Teresa, our first episode, Is This Real True Crime? You haven't been on a podcast Multimedia Mafia, right?
No.
Well, I'm saying like as a full.
Right, yeah. I haven't been on a podcast where I'm one of the core castmates.
Yes.
Since Multimedia Mafia. My last podcast that I was on, I believe, was not the Halloween episode. It was it might have been the Halloween episode.
The Halloween episode.
But one where I was
Halloween,
sitting at a microphone talking about something was the 2016 Clowns.
It was
one of the Halloween
one of
episodes.
the Halloween episodes.
So,
Is this right?
I haven't been in this booth in a while, but I am joining to do the true crime, which is a huge interest of mine. So I'm very excited. Very good.
And in Green Arrow exclusive. So if you're listening to this, thank you for supporting us. So our first case, Teresa, something that you brought to me. Our first original episode is actually supposed to be the DeFeo murders, which we'll take on pretty soon episodes. But you were like, you know what? Let's screw this. It's a big deal right now because of the whole docu-series. And we're with that docu-series talking about Caylee Anthony. That
pause. We're talking about the disappearance and murder of Caylee Marie Anthony. That leads into Caylee Marie Anthony is her own identity, and she shall be identified as such. I would like to start by saying rest in peace to that beautiful little girl who didn't deserve anything that had happened to her, no matter who did it. Who you believe did it, who I believe did it, who any of you out there believe did it. It doesn't matter who did it. It unfortunately matters that it happened, and it is a devastating tragedy. And she would have been 17. She was born in 2005, so, right? So she would have been 17. Yep. She would have been a growing adolescent, young woman. And, may she rest in peace. It's extremely tragic. But just wanted to put that out there so we don't dishonor the dead.
But it is trial of
yes,
Anthony.
We will also be speaking in regards to the trial of Caylee Anthony and what had happened after everything in regards to Caylee. So.
And this trial, once we start getting down the line, as far as I know, like I don't follow true crime a lot. I'm here to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just put it like this. I'm here to hopefully just my little outsider to stuff because I don't sit watch as much of the coverage as I have.
Mm-hmm.
But I know there has been ups and downs in the years, roughly.
20 years, bro. I ain't that old. It happened in 2008.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, so
15 years.
So when this story broke in June of 2008, I was 8 years old. I'm only 22. So when it was happening, I remember it vaguely happening. I was in first or second grade, but it didn't matter to me. Obviously, I was a child. But growing up, it is one of the most infamous murder trials, and it's still unsolved murders of all time. It's the second most televised murder trial next to the O.J. Simpson trial. It was since the O.J. Simpson trial. It had happened in 2008. The O.J. Simpson trial was what? 90-something?
94.
94?
95.
So between, that and Caylee Anthony, this is the second most televised trial and everything. And media plays a big role in it because, when O.J. Simpson happened, they didn't have the media, Instagram, any of the socials, Facebook.
Social media,
they didn't have any of that.
No, not at all.
Caylee Anthony, and what plays a huge role in this is the fact that Twitter, Facebook, those two things were around when this was taking place. So her trial lasted 3 years. Right. But it still happened. I mean, you had celebrities tweeting about Caylee Anthony. You had elected government officials tweeting about Caylee Anthony. Everybody kind of honed in on this one particular case for 3 years. It was a huge cultural moment, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that.
All right. So we're gonna start off now with before
Mhm.
the death of.
Okay.
So we're gonna. Teresa, do you have the timeline of like what
Yeah.
what started with how
Well,
conceived
I
and
know it off the top of my head because so a lot of the two sources that I'm getting this information from is just media outlets, many media outlets on the internet, as well as Caylee Anthony's own testimony, as well as the trial footage of what had happened. So, I don't know if we're allowed to say where the.
Yeah.
Okay, so recently, about 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago, there's a 3-part docuseries on Peacock about Caylee, called Caylee Anthony: Where the Truth Lies. So, starting with way before any of this happened, Caylee Anthony grew up in a very strict household. She has a brother. I think it's just her parents, her brother, and her growing up in the household. She was kind of I don't believe her parents were religious, but they were that good old American family. Nothing happens in our house. Everyone's my son, my daughter, they're good. They don't do anything wrong. So
were
she
they Catholic?
I don't recall. I know she was kind of sheltered as a child from her parents. So in the docuseries, she claims, again, I'm just going to say claims, Caylee Marie was conceived out of a rape. Out of a rape, yes. So
where is Caylee?
That is someone that even Caylee Anthony is unsure of. She had a fiance at the time. I believe his first name was Kyle. It was something Grunt. I know that. Caylee arrived after Casey's repeated denials to other family about her pregnancy. She hid her pregnancy the entire time. She had a very small pregnancy, but she claims that it was out of a rape, and they're unsure of who could possibly be the father. She said she was at a party, she got drunk, a guy had raped her, and that was that. A couple weeks later, she was raped. Or a couple weeks later, she found out she was pregnant. At the time, she was engaged to a Jesse Grund, but the timeline of the pregnancy didn't match up to when she started dating Jesse Grund. So it was kind of like he was under the impression that Caylee Marie was his daughter.
Did they ever do a DNA test?
No.
Not.
Because by the time that they were involved with each other, Caylee was dead. Like, this didn't come to light until now. That's
Wow.
So starting off the bat, starting right there, this doesn't start very well. Because she's, the child doesn't have a father figure growing up. So it was potentially between Jesse Grund, the individual who raped her, another guy who died in a car accident, but it was never publicly revealed, and to this day, Caylee Anthony doesn't know who the father of her child was.
I have a question. I've heard some just be speculating as society does. I did hear rumors that potentially father Caylee, her father.
Yes.
Did you hear that?
Yes. She does disbar that rumor. I think that's the right word. In the documentary, the interviewer had asked her, "Is it a possibility that your father fathered Caylee Marie?" And she said, "Absolutely not." So prior to Caylee Marie, Caylee Anthony growing up, like I said, had a strict household. Her parents wanted it to look like the normal, run-of-the-mill, all-American house. In this docuseries, as well as in the trial, it was brought forward that Caylee Anthony claims that her father had sexually assaulted her growing up between the ages, I believe, of 8 and 12. He'd come into her bedroom, you know, ... She also claims that her brother sexually assaulted her. Not to the extent of her father, but the extent of groping her, touching her while she was sleeping. So she grew up in that. She could never say anything to her parents. She didn't say anything to her mom about her father until Caylee was born. She claims that when she was hanging out with her father and Caylee or her mother and Caylee, hanging out, playing with toys, whatever, she had told her mother, and her mother called her a whore.
About her father?
About her father. So, furthermore, on her father, in regards to how bad of an individual he is being made out to be. Again, I don't know if any of this is real. I'm not saying it's not real. He lied. He committed fraud. He stole money. He was just an all-around bad guy. He lied about everything. He would never tell the truth. And growing up, watching that, Caylee kind of took those qualities from her father. That's what she's claiming. That was what was in her defense in court during the trial, was that growing up and seeing her father be such a asshole, a manipulative man, just seeing those qualities and those attributes, she adopted those growing up. So that was basically all her life, from, the moment she was born up until when she had Caylee. Even when she did have Caylee, her parents were still very much involved in her life. They wanted to, they didn't find out she was pregnant until the very, very close to the very end. She lived with her parents, so it wasn't, she didn't live separately. So that was basically her life prior and during Caylee. So that leads us up to the day that Caylee Marie goes missing.
When was that day?
So Caylee Marie had gone missing. See, this is where it gets a little hairy for me, okay? And I'm going to explain why. So, in the docuseries, we'll start with internet claims first and things that are on the internet. So here we read that Caylee and her family got into a huge argument on June 16th, 2008. Your birthday. On June 16th, 2008. And she just fucked off. She drove off. July 15th, 2008, Cindy Anthony, who is Caylee Anthony's mother, calls and reports Caylee missing. So for 31 days, Caylee Marie is missing. The reports on the internet have claimed that what's her name? Cindy and George, the parents, were trying to get in contact with Caylee. Were trying to see their granddaughter, and they just kept getting poo-pooed. She's fine. Okay. She's fine.
So this is where my mind starts. So, if on June 16th, 2008, Caylee gets into a fight with her. Right?
Yep.
She left her daughter at the house.
No, she was with her daughter.
Took the daughter with her.
Correct.
Okay.
Mind you, this is all taking place in Orlando, Florida. So I'll give you, that's where Caylee was born. That's where they lived. So on July 15th, Caylee Marie was reported missing by Cindy Anthony, and you can go out and hear the recording of the 911 call. And
so it's a whole 31 days she apparently
has been missing, correct. She had not seen Cindy had not seen Caylee in 31 days, and somehow Caylee Anthony's car showed up. Caylee Anthony returned. Her car had been impounded. So these reports, and this is where it gets all fucked up, and this is only half of the fucked upness.
Okay, so where between those in that 31 days, where was Caylee?
No idea.
No one knows where Caylee. Not even her.
According to these claims on the internet, and I'll get to the other part in a minute. So She was reported missing by the 911 call on July 15th. She was missing for 31 days, or she had been missing for 31 days. And when the detectives or the police or the family, whoever, this is where it gets all friggin' hairy because there's no correct or right or straight answers. They learned that the family car that Casey had used to run away had been impounded. So George goes to collect the car or goes to see the car, because I'd imagine if you get a call that your car is being impounded, you have to identify the car. I would imagine.
Well, if it's your...
Right. So this was the family car.
This is the family car.
Right.
Okay.
So the family car had been impounded, and George goes to inspect. George inspects the car, and he's overwhelmed by the smell of, like, a dead body.
Okay.
So, they inspect, and in the trunk of the car, they find a bag of trash. That's what they find. That's where that smell's coming from. So that same day, July 15th.
15th or 17th?
15th. That same day, July 15th, Cindy tracks down Casey, and over a string of 911 calls reports that Caylee had been missing for a month. So she finally is able to see Casey, get in contact with Casey, and demands that her daughter be arrested. She demanded that her daughter be arrested, given the fact that the car smelled, she was missing for so long, and she doesn't have Caylee with her. So, while this is happening in these 31 days, this is the big mystery, and this is where I'll kind of pause. This is the big mystery, because on the internet, that's what it says happens. Casey and Caylee fucked off. They got into a huge fight with the family, or Casey got into a huge fight with the family, fucked off, and then for 31 days, she had been missing the baby. In this docuseries, none of that was documented.
None of that was documented, or none of that was said by...
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It was not said by Casey. She did not go into where she went. She didn't go into if there was an argument. She didn't say any of this, which leaves me confused, because what the fuck happened?
All right, then what was Casey saying happened?
So Casey claims, and this was used in court, so that's where I'm like, okay, maybe I believe the court videos and Casey, blah, blah, blah. That during those 31 days, she knew Caylee was missing. She did not report it to the police. She said that the baby was with Zenaida Gonzalez Fernandez, who was a nanny. So she tells the cops this when the 911 call is finally made, that she was with, they called her Zanny the nanny, which right off the bat sounds fake. Right. So she tells the cops and leads the cops to Zenaida's apartment. Yeah. Zanny.
What did Zanny have to say?
Zanny the nanny existed, but she was not Caylee Anthony's babysitter. And the apartment that Caylee Anthony had led them to was empty and had been empty or vacant for months. So that's lie number one. So she also claimed that during that time she was working at Universal Studios in their HR department.
And they said
no,
that she did.
Right.
So that's lie.
So she brought them into Universal Studios HR department, led them down a dark hallway, and said, "Yeah, I don't work here." So that's lie number two. She somehow, from someone, she had stolen money. Unsure of where that fits into the timeline, but she also lied about that to the authorities. She admits to lying to the cops. And she was charged with...
perjury.
Right. She was charged with lying to the cops. So, whatever. But during those 31 days, what she had said was that she was trying to conceal her angst and her sadness for her missing daughter. And the reason why she was good at it, or the reason why she was doing that, is because her father was orchestrating her and telling her that she cannot openly react to her daughter being, her whereabouts being unknown. So she blatantly blames her father for the fact that she didn't call the cops for 31 days. So that's essentially...
just so I have it.
Mhm.
This is what I'm doing. I'm making my own checklist. I'm writing down stuff and writing down cases. By the end of shutting. So we have 3 so far for Caylee Anthony, and then 2 for George. So I put down the brother, I put down Zanny the nanny,
Right.
and I put down Cindy. These are all the suspects I have on my list, and the fiance. I'm not gonna let that guy, because I know there has to be some stuff with nothing at all.
Mm-mm. He wasn't even a part of the docuseries. They barely mentioned him.
Nothing at all.
Nope.
Keep the fiance in. I feel like somewhere there will be.
Get on with it.
Oh. Cindy.
Cindy, yep.
Cindy, yeah. All right. So 3 for Caylee because she's lying. 2 for George because of quote unquote may have sexually daughter and may have covered it up. All right. So let's get to when the body was on the day of the body.
Okay. So you're skipping a whole bunch of shit.
Oh, I am? Oh,
because
excuse me. I'm
you're
sorry.
not. You're
I thought...
skipping. Well, you don't know you're skipping it. So
Oh,
essentially,
my bad.
Caylee Anthony claims. We're gonna talk about her recollection of the day that Caylee Anthony went missing.
Went missing or
Went missing.
So we didn't cover the day that so she knows exactly what day that Caylee went missing.
It's the same day that she went missing.
There's 31 days.
Right.
So she remembers the day that Caylee
Yes.
Does the mother and the father know the...
I would believe so. Let me explain.
Okay.
So, and she didn't give a day. I'm assuming it's the same day as July 15th. Don't know. Or June 16th. I don't know because she didn't give an exact day. But this is what she claims happened. This is the last time she saw her daughter. She claims that she had been, it was early in the morning. She had woken up, given Caylee breakfast. She either was sick, not feeling good, tired from work. She wanted to take a nap. So she turned the TV on in her bedroom. Caylee was with her. They were cuddling in bed. She fell asleep. She woke up to her father shaking her and saying, "Where's Caylee? Kaylee's missing." So Caylee says, like, there's no way she could have walked out by herself. She knows not to be in the house by herself. She's smart. Yada, yada, yada. I mean, she is a 2-year-old girl, so...
Not to leave the house by herself.
Right, not to leave the house by herself, so on and so forth. So they go on a wild goose chase around the house trying to find the baby. And the interviewer goes... Now, they have an above-ground pool in the backyard. The interviewer goes, is there any possible way that she could have... Did you check in the pool? She could have drowned. Caylee said, I didn't have to. And the interviewer said, okay, why? And she said she had come around the back towards the front of the house, and her father was standing with Caylee Anthony, soaking wet, just standing there. So Caylee took the baby, and the interviewer asked her, what did she feel like? Cold and heavy. And Caylee Anthony claims that she stood there with her, she sat there with her child, and now she's not explaining whether or not the baby is alive. She's just saying cold and wet, which leads me to believe that the baby was dead.
Yeah.
Cold and heavy.
If you're going to sit there and say that.
Right.
And lifeless.
Right. So she claims that she sat there for a couple of minutes with her child. Her father took Caylee, said she's going to be okay, and she never saw her daughter again. That's her recollection of the last time that she saw her daughter. Then, so after this,
No, this is Caylee said this in court.
Caylee said that. I don't know if she said it in court. I know she said it on the docuseries. I haven't watched every single piece of the court case because it's 3 years worth, and I don't have the kind of time.
She said this on the docuseries, which comes out in 20.
Correct.
Has come out.
Correct.
So, and
2008 to 2011.
14. Because if your story has changed, especially in trials.
Oh, I'm sure. But anyway, so that leads us to Caylee Anthony getting arrested. Caylee Anthony got arrested on July 16th, 2008. So just the day after they reported Caylee missing.
Because mother
Right.
asked to be arrested.
Right. So this is where she leads the cops on the wild goose chase to Universal Studios to Zanny the Nanny's apartment, which
Zanny the Nanny.
didn't happen. So she is arrested, charged with child neglect, interfering with a criminal investigation, and lying to investigators. But on July 22nd, 2008, Caylee is declared a person of interest at her bond hearing. So she is then officially declared the prime suspect in this missing child's case. So essentially what had happened was, in the hearing, evidence that was brought forth by a cadaver dog of human decomposition was found in the back of the car, the family car that Caylee had used. So a cadaver dog had, I would assume, sniffed out that smell, and they had investigated the area, and
The DNA test.
No.
Okay.
They just, I guess, from the scientists said, I don't know, that they can take like the air molecules and condense them down to determine what it is in the air, and it was human decomposition, like the same kind of chemical makeup that you would find in a decomposing body. To me that sounds fake, but I don't know how that works.
I don't think it's fake, but for me to sit there and believe that she would have had to have that kid, she would have had to have her kid in for more than
a month
for
right.
it to be. I believe. I'm not a scientist, so I can't sit there and say yay or nay on that.
Right.
But if I had to sit there and say how things decompose, it takes a while, especially a body. I don't believe the body just says, okay, it's dead for 10 minutes, and then there's a foot that falls off. You know what I
Right.
mean? So, I mean, again, I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm right here, but allow on.
So, on August 20th, 2008, mind you, during this time, I'm assuming she's just in jail. Her bond was posted. Her bond was $500,000. And a California bounty hunter by the name of Leonard Padilla had posted her bail in hopes that Caylee would lead them to Caylee. So he essentially, like, bought her out of jail.
Yeah, if I buy you out,
right,
lead me to your daughter.
Right, exactly.
Which she'd be stupid to. If she took that, I mean, if you take that saying, yeah, okay, I'll lead you to the body.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's an like a person's choice whether or not they're brought out of jail. I don't think you can look at somebody and be like, no,
okay.
Don't post my bail. I want to stay here.
You're right. You can't. What I'm saying is, if somebody does that, it's especially with a random person like a bounty hunter, it's them saying, I'm going to do this for you, but you have to do something for me.
Right. It's them saying that, but we don't know if she agreed to that.
And if she did,
then she's an idiot.
She's an idiot.
Right. But then August 29th, she was arrested for stealing and cashing checks from a friend. So that is that third strike against her. So during this time, she stole, and she was found guilty on that offense.
Dummy.
So, what happened was, like, Padilla tried helping, and he said, like, I tried, I gave it my best shot, I tried helping her, it didn't happen, she didn't want it, what else can I do? Like, that's what I did. So fast forward to October 14th, Caylee is officially charged with first-degree manslaughter, or first-degree murder. And the unsealed indictment also charges her with aggravated child abuse, aggravated manslaughter, and 4 counts of providing false information to the law department or enforcement, which is true. In Caylee's response, Caylee's lawyer, Jose Baez, says his client's actions will become clear at trial, because at that point he knew, her lawyer knew of the abuse that she claims what she endured as a child, which led her to where she is today. I sincerely believe when we have fully spoken with everyone, and I mean everyone, will sit back and say, now I understand, that explains it. So he was saying basically that the trauma and the abuse that she had endured will speak to her actions now. Not necessarily the murder of her daughter, but how she's acting around it, because there were pictures of her partying, out with friends, at dinners, you know, having the time of her life. She got a tattoo that said Bella Vita, which means the good life, during that time. And she had claimed that the tattoo was a fuck you to her parents because they were, you know, strict. And she was partying, yes. She was out, yes, but she was not enjoying herself. She was doing what she was told to do by her father, which is essentially act like everything's okay. Right. Right. So on October 24th, 2008, forensic reports that were taken from an examination of Casey's car are released. And the reports note that a strand of hair was discovered in the trunk, and it's microscopically similar to those found on Caylee's brush and showed characteristics of apparent decomposition. So at the very base of your hair, when you have a piece of hair fall out, you have a follicle. So obviously, you know, if you take it off of a person who's alive, it's white, it's fresh, it's a follicle. If it's a decomposing body, the strands of hair will have similarities matching a decomposing body because it's not fresh anymore. It's not off of an alive person. It's dying. So it is not only similar to her hair, microscopically similar to her hair, but it is that belonging to a decomposing body. That in addition to air sample, what?
Please stop saying.
Sorry. That in addition to the air sample that they found, they put like 1 + 1 = 2. There was a dead body in her trunk. So that's where they got that from. So this brings us to the discovery of skeletal bones. December 11th, 2008, the skeletal remains of a young girl are discovered. The bones are found in a bag in a wooded area less than half a mile from the Anthony's home. These remains...
Well, she was still living with her parents.
Right.
Okay.
These remains were in a trash bag, in a laundry bag, with duct tape. And I'll get to the duct tape in a minute. But the laundry bag was part of a set. The other one was found in the Anthony's home. And the duct tape was also found, like the same brand was also found in the Anthony's home. It's that kind of duct tape that has the logo on the actual duct tape. It's, I mean, like you get duct, oh, you're saying, oh, yeah. Like it has like an actual brand name on it. Matches what was in the Anthony's home. So, what I get confused about here is if she went missing in June, the body was found in December. How is she already a skeleton?
How long? Now. We figure out how long it takes, and we're not friends, not scientists at all. Jackasses. We're just gonna sit here and learn more stuff. I'll search up. So, if you sit there and figure that out, that at that point will determine wow, 24 to 72 hours after death. In the internal organs 3 to 5 days after death, body starts to bloat. Blood-containing foam leaks from the mouth and nose. 8 to 10 days after death, the body turns from red as the blood decomposes, and the organs in the abdomen accumulate gas. So, yeah, it's probably skull.
Well, these reports are saying as quickly as 2 weeks to as long as 3 years. So, I mean, she's a tiny child.
Yeah.
So, okay, that makes sense. So,
and that answers our question from before.
Right. So on December 11th, these remains are found. They're not determined to be Caylee Marie yet. They're just found near the house.
Did anyone at any point take DNA?
Of?
Anyone determine if there was DNA samples on the body?
Well, there was no body.
What I'm saying is on stuff that was like she was taped in.
No.
Nobody took any DNA samples to see if there's
believe.
any fingerprints, any nothing on anything.
I don't believe so, no.
Everyone's dropping the ball. Why did nobody do that?
So the bones are found in a bag in a wooded area less than half a mile from the Anthony's home by a utility worker, Ray Kronk. He got the fucking surprise. Surprise.
What the hell is wrong with you?
I had a stroke. It is later revealed that Kronk had sought to convince police to search the area back in the summer. So then officially on December 20th, 2008, the bones are to be confirmed belonging to Caylee Marie Anthony. So
Did Kronk know something?
It's
He
the
had to
only
know
time he's
something.
mentioned. The Orange
Yeah,
County
him.
Chief Medical Examiner reports that the bones showed no evidence of trauma and that Caylee's death is being ruled a homicide of undetermined meaning. Although the skull is found with duct tape around the nose, mouth, and jaw, which to me is interesting because I would imagine, now this can get real gruesome real quick. I would imagine if there's a decomposing body, right?
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't need to put tape on a decomposing body if it's already fucking dead. Why would you need to put tape around a body? You're trying to preserve the skin on the bone? Stupid. 2, why would duct tape, how would duct tape be found on a skeletal bone or a nose and mouth? That makes no sense. When you are dead and someone puts duct tape on you, it goes on your skin. Skin goes away. It fucks off. Poof, gone. It decomposes.
There we go.
So, if
Stop
there
touching
was
the mic.
if there was tape, say I'm dead. You put tape on my mouth, throw me in the garbage.
Why are we laughing at this? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Sorry. It's how I cope. You put tape on my mouth, throw me in the garbage, I'm gone. My skin decomposes, that duct tape isn't staying on my mouth and nose. It's probably going to wither away to the side. Makes no sense. Anyway, continuing. Nose, mouth, and jaw is where the duct tape was found. The advanced state of decomposition ultimately prevents investigators from pinpointing the exact cause of death and date. So they have no idea how this little girl died or when she died. They just know she's dead.
See, that fucks me up. And I'm sorry to sit there now. I'm probably gonna go off on a little rant here. I'm sorry. We could sit here and we could find the fucking exact fucking date of when a fucking T-Rex was born. And if it had wings and the fucking things were back here. But something like this, we can't determine.
Well, you have nothing to test on. Determining age of a decomposing body or a skeleton is easy because it goes based on, the size, the mass, the shape of the bone. Determining a cause of death, you have to have some kind of substance, some kind of flesh to test that on. People, they can test if a decomposing body died by strangulation or by blunt force trauma or by this, by that. You can't determine that on a skeleton unless there's physical evidence on the bones. Like if I go on a stabbing spree and I stab you to death in your face, on your neck, in your body, they can look at your skeleton and see those insertions, those lacerations on your bones. But if there is no physical evidence on this little baby's body or on this little baby, on these bones that they found, then there is no, factual way that they can determine how she died. If they wanted to test her for how old she was, they could do that. But there is no way for them to test. Now, I would imagine by dental records, they determined that it was Caylee Marie because skeletons have teeth and, that's normally how they identify. So, this is a fun fact. January 23rd, 2009, George Anthony is taken into custody after he tries taking his own life.
Against George.
He's reported to be despondent and possibly under the influence of medication and alcohol, and he's located at a hotel in Daytona Beach with a 5-page suicide note. This is new to me. So, why the fuck would he try taking his own life?
Or did he take it? Did he look like him? Hence where
I'm sorry. No.
Hence where the fiat.
No. If I wanted to make it look like someone was taking their own life, I wouldn't write a fucking essay.
Yes, you would. Because
No, I wouldn't.
think about it. Who would sit there in their right mind and write a 5-page essay and then say, like it,
I don't want to hear that. Did you see that guy's suicide note on Facebook? The guy who jumped off the Disney land structure?
No.
He put a suicide note on Facebook.
Was it 5 pages long?
It was a long fucking thing. Long.
Okay.
I read it. It was pretty sad. His name was Christopher, I think. Anyway.
My God, do you just what the fuck?
Anyway, back to this. So, April 13th, 2009, prosecutors announced their intention to pursue the death penalty.
Get that bitch.
So, she's still in trial. Now, this is almost year two, of this trial. Although earlier
the trial hasn't begun.
Or of this happening. Although earlier court papers indicated that the death penalty would not be in play, the new notice of intent cites sufficient aggravated circumstances to justify its imposition. So they basically said she fucked up royally and she has to die. That's why we're going with the death penalty. So, May 24th, 2011, the trial commences with the defense's bombshell claims. The trial begins with the prosecution's opening salvo of Casey being a party girl with no use for a young daughter, as evidenced by the month spent shopping and drinking during Caylee's absence. Those remarks are soon eclipsed by Baez's stunning opening statement which asserts that Caylee drowned in the family swimming pool and that George sought to cover up the accidental death.
So,
right.
So basically, the defense lawyer, and said that George accidentally killed Caylee.
No. That she accidentally drowned in the swimming pool and he covered up the murder or the death. So she died, she wasn't killed.
First of all,
this is what makes people angry because it's like, okay, if she died in a swimming pool,
she accidentally drowned.
Right. That it happens, unfortunately. It's the number one reason for an untimely child's death in Florida.
Yeah, they're not going to sit there and say, "Oh, you're not going to charge anybody for negligence." Unfortunately, like you said, it happens.
Yeah.
They're not going to sit there and say, "Well, and when the fuck, excuse my language, when the fuck did George come out of nowhere?" Because if we're going by what Casey said she fell asleep with Caylee watching TV, and then George out of nowhere comes over, or not comes over.
I mean, he was home.
Yeah, okay, my bad. I keep forgetting that they live in the same house.
They all lived in the same house, but my whole thing isn't covering up a death illegal? So why the fuck isn't he charged with anything if this is her claim? Anyway, that's besides the point.
No. It's a claim. There was no
physical
proof of that happening.
I don't know why they don't just solve these things with lie detector tests.
Because you can easily pass a lie.
Anyway.
You know how a lie detector test determines if you're lying or not?
Heartbeat.
Yeah, elevated heartbeat.
Yeah. The lead defense lawyer also alleges that George had molested Casey, thereby igniting her habit of lying to cover up the pain, and that Kronk, the utility worker, had found Caylee's body and planted it in the woods.
Get Kronk. They're really gonna sit
Pull
there.
the lever, Kronk.
They're really gonna sit there and they're blaming this utility worker Kronk, who's been telling the cops she's in the fucking woods for 6 months.
Right. Taking the stand as the first witness, George denies that he ever molested his daughter and knew anything about Caylee's drowning. So completely going against Casey's claim that he found her and he hid her body. Okay? So May 27, 2011, a witness offers his theory about the smell in Casey's car. Mind you, pause. While I'm watching this documentary, there's this random roommate person that Caylee Anthony knew. Don't know how he came into the play. I think he was like one of her boyfriends during the time of Caylee Marie's absence. One of her boyfriend's like roommates. He turns around and said, "Well, I think Zanny the nanny. I think The baby died because Caylee Anthony gave her Xanax. She overdosed on Xanax, and now she's saying that Zanny the nanny is actually Xanax. And she's telling the police that Zaneta, is the one who took my daughter out, who stole my daughter, but it was actually Xanax, and she was making that whole thing up. That was his claim. I think it's bullshit because Zaneta is a real person and she was interviewed and she had no connection to Caylee Anthony at all. But anyway. So,
is she around the same area, though? Is she a nanny in Florida?
She is a nanny in Florida, yes.
Okay.
So, May 27, 2011, a witness offers his theory about the smell in Casey's car. Simon Birch, the manager of the towing company that impounded Casey's car in June 2008, testifies that he had encountered multiple vehicles with dead bodies during his 3 decades in the business and that the smell from Casey's car was consistent with those past experiences. The same day, the fiancé of Casey's brother also takes a stand and describes the very special bond she observed between Caylee and her mother. So all during this time, Caylee Anthony, there was never a time...
Hold on.
There was never a time during these, interviews with friends, with Caylee Anthony, with, her defense team, who became a surrogate family to her. They all claim that she was an amazing mother and she loved her daughter. Like, there's numerous pictures, videos. They were always together. She loves her child.
I have a new theory.
What?
Brother took the stand, right?
The brother's fiance.
Oh, the brother. Damn it. Either way, it's still connected to the brother. Let's just put it like this. Brother and Caylee get together. And they say, because they've been treated horrible their entire life, because not horrible, they've had a strict household, and they still live with their parents, that they turn around and the father killed the daughter, granddaughter, so that they can get rid of the father.
Anyway. So on June 6, 2011, a forensics expert takes the stand. Arpad Vass of the Oak Ridge National Laboratory explains how the shockingly high amount of chloroform, a chemical released by decomposition, as well as one that can be used to knock someone unconscious, detected in the car trunk, led to his conclusion that a dead body was indeed present. However, his testimony is contradicted the following day by an FBI scientist who compares the chloroform level in the trunk to an amount found in household cleaner. So his theory is basically there was a dead body in the trunk because of the chloroform, and the FBI scientist guy is like, no, it wasn't because of a dead body. It was just because it was probably from cleaner. Either way, there's chloroform in the trunk.
Yeah, either way, the cleaner could have been used to knock the little girl unconscious.
All right, next. June 8th, 2011, the jury ponders the relevance of search engines. Ooh.
Internet.
A software designer testifies that someone had searched for chloroform a whopping 84 times and also looked up search terms such as head injuries, ruptured spleen, chest trauma, and internal bleeding on the Anthony's home computer in March 2008. So 2 months before Caylee Marie went missing. During the regular work hours of George and Cindy, the designer later reports an error in his detecting softwares and determines that the user visited a site related to chloroform only once.
What the fuck?
So my question is, how the fuck do you come up with 84 different, red flags, as well as internal bleeding, chest trauma, this, that, and the third, but then say, oh wait, never mind. She was on Walmart.com shopping, and there was cleaning products there. That's where you get the problem. What is that? How does that make sense?
Someone's on the
right. So June 23rd, 2011, Cindy refutes previous testimony. In a crucial day for the defense, Cindy claims that she was the one who researched chloroform on her computer. She also testifies that a stain found in the trunk, allegedly caused by Caylee's decomposing body, was there when the family purchased the car. A few days later, July 3rd, the two sides present their closing arguments. Continuing with the narrative that Casey was overly burdened by Caylee, Lead prosecutor Jeff Ashton emphasizes to the jury how the young mother was motivated enough to go to the extremes to achieve her freedom, killing her kid. Something needed to be sacrificed. That something was either the life she wanted or the life thrust upon her. So she chose to sacrifice her child. So that was the prosecutor, the lead prosecutor,
yes,
stating like she wanted a party life, she wanted a single, she wanted a hot bitch, a hot girl summer. She murdered her kid. That's what happened. While forbidden from revisiting the unsupported molestation claims, Baez nevertheless delivers an effective closing argument by pointing out the lack of evidence that could definitively
there you go.
place Caylee's body in the car trunk or tie Casey to the daughter's death. And finally, June 5th, 2011, the day everyone had been waiting for
July
3
5th.
years.
That's July 5th.
July 5th, yeah. After 6 weeks of testimony, 400 pieces of evidence, a jury of 7 women, 5 men, in less than 11 hours, they reached a verdict of not guilty. So she was saved from the death penalty of Florida.
Because of the lack of evidence.
Because of the lack of evidence.
Quote unquote lack of evidence.
So July 7th, 2011, she's sentenced to time already served as well as community service for being charged with 4 counts of lying to detectives. She's released from jail in 2011 and she's able to move forward with the rest of her life. So unfortunately, throughout these 3 years of testimony, trial, this, that, and the third, no one is found guilty of Caylee Marie's murder or death. Nothing comes out of it. They can't determine how she died because of the decomposition state of her body when she was found. Caylee Anthony went free. She walked away. That's it. No more. She's done. No more trial. No more this. No more that. Her parents don't know if they're still together. I would assume they are. Don't know if they're still together. Frankly, don't give a shit.
You stop saying
No. But yeah. So that is the Caylee Anthony.
I still have some questions.
Shoot.
So, why does she need to tell her side? She told in the trial. She told her side and the reason why she acted the way. Little girl went missing. So why sit there and reopen this, and reopen those wounds that people felt? Because this gripped people across the country.
Right.
Why reopen those wounds to say, well, I need to tell my side of this?
I think she did it because there are still so many people in the world, probably more than outweigh, there's either people who believe she did it and people who don't, right? That's it. It's
well, yeah,
I
I think it's the same thing with the OJ trial. I think with the OJ trial, I think that more people are split on that. There are people who sit there and say that he did it, and they don't.
So
I have found across the board with this trial, with the Caylee Anthony trial, that more people believe that she committed,
right,
than
the people who believe she's guilty outweigh the people who believe she's not.
Yeah. And there's also more people who. There's also more people who believe. Not more. There's also a lot of people who. George.
Oh, I fully believe he's involved somehow. Whether he did it, or whether he helped her do it, or whether he hid the body, whatever. Honestly, what I'm gonna say is, what I believe happened. What I truly believe in my bones happened was, I think Caylee Marie drowned in the pool. I think Caylee Marie drowned in the pool. I think Casey and George found her. So I don't think George just found her and that was it. I think Casey and George found her and said, you know what? Fuck it. Fucking hide the body. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. Or
this is something
What?
on video that came out. Apparently, Casey speculated staged.
Oh, I didn't hear that on the recording. I didn't hear that.
So she's using and that George killed the daughter, cover up molesting her.
Makes no sense. It makes no sense. This is gonna sound really weird, but she's 2 years old. She's 2 years old. She can't tell anybody what's going on. So
I mean, she could.
she could try, but she doesn't understand what's happening.
It's not even that at that point. Again, we've never been in that situation. God for that.
But the thing is, okay, fine. You want to say that your father is molested you. You're a grown woman. You know what it's like. You said it happened between 8 and 12 years old, yada, yada, yada. But you also think your father was abusing and sexually abusing your daughter. Why the fuck would you stay silent about that? Why the fuck wouldn't you say anything about that? Why wouldn't you tell the police? Why wouldn't you tell the authorities? Fuck what your mother says.
Even at that point, if you know, and this is just coming, again, I'm not a woman.
Okay, and also, if George wanted to cover up the fact that he was molesting Caylee, why didn't he kill Casey too?
Let's just put it like this. Again, I'm not a woman. So I can't comment from that. If you know that someone, especially someone close, molested you, you kept it to yourself, you didn't blah, blah, blah. Would you let that person anywhere near you?
No, absolutely not.
Even
Fuck
if you
no.
were living with them?
God, no. No, I would do everything in my fucking power to get out of that house and not be around those people ever again.
So, just in my opinion...
But that leads her down to the theory of she's been brainwashed by her family to not say anything.
If that was the case, why are you saying anything?
Right. Well, she claims because she's been able to see what is wrong and right, and she's been able to...
14 years later?
She's been able to come to terms with it and understand that she didn't do anything wrong. It was her father.
Okay. So basically what she's saying is that I went out and I shot somebody. But it's not my fault. It was Charles Manson. He brainwashed me. She's basically claiming that she is a Charles Manson follower, because that's what they claimed. It was Charlie. Charlie did it all. We did it for Charlie. We covered everything up for Charlie. You have to be responsible for your own actions. You cannot put the blame on somebody else. So for her to sit there in this new documentary, this was just her trying to relieve any guilt that she felt of killing her daughter.
I don't personally think that. I think...
You don't think she killed her daughter?
I don't know. Honestly. After watching it, I don't know. I think her father had something to do with it.
That
I
was
think
the
her
intention
father...
of the video.
I think her father had more to do with it. I do not believe that she killed her daughter because she wanted to have a life and party and yada yada yada, because if that was the case, have a fucking abortion, to be honest.
Well, I mean,
if that was the case, why'd you wait until she was 2 years old to kill her?
Again, if we're gonna keep with this whole brainwash of the family thing, her parents probably said, no, we don't believe in abortion. And then
that's true too, but I don't think that she killed her daughter with the intention of going out and partying and living the good life and getting drunk and doing this and doing that. I don't think that's the case.
She's been doing that ever since.
No, she hasn't. She hasn't been out. She went to one concert. That's the only thing that I've ever seen of her.
I've seen a couple things.
I have not. She works now for her defense team. When when the trial was over, she had nowhere to go. Her family didn't want her in. And her father has also been very contradictory in every interview he's done. He took the stand and essentially said that he didn't think Casey had anything to do with it directly, and then he's in an interview saying, "No, my daughter killed her. I know my daughter's guilty. My daughter should be behind bars. My daughter killed her."
Well, this is after all.
So it's like
Just think of this. Think of this. That whole was when they said about the father. That before or after he?
that was before.
That was before he took the stand.
Yeah,
Are you sure?
that's our opening statement. You have your opening statement and closing statement. In between is everybody's testimony.
Well,
and
I
all
thought
that.
the closing statement is when he
No.
revealed that.
The closing statement, he wasn't allowed to say that the father molested her again. The opening statement is where he said she was molested and Casey learned to cover up the pain from that pain. She was a child. That's what Baez opened the trial with. So the defense, the prosecutor opened with, she's a party girl. She killed her daughter to do that and go party. Baez, her defense attorney, said her father molested her when she was a kid. She had to cover that up because no one would believe her. She had so much pain and so much trauma. She had to learn how to put on a poker face, act like nothing's happening. And that's why when Caylee was missing for those 31 days, she was so good at making sure that no one knew something was wrong because she got that from her father molesting her. And then for the closing argument, she couldn't bring that up again.
But does she understand that making it seem like nothing is wrong made it seem like everything was wrong? Because think about it this way, and if you're going to sit there and say, "Well, we're not guilty," like something, let's throw the possibility that this is an outside force, someone actually came into the house, either murdered the child or something. Because either way, if you look at it, if they didn't kill, if the father or Casey didn't kill Caylee, right, and she drowned accidentally and they covered up, they're still guilty of covering up.
100%
of a death.
Yeah.
So either way, you're going to jail.
Right. Which is why I don't understand how her father, like how they didn't investigate George.
But that's what I'm saying. If either way, they're going to jail. So for you to sit there and say, well, I mean, like I just make sure everything's not wrong. Like let's throw the possibility out there that someone actually came in and killed Caylee. An outside force came in and killed her and dumped the body in the woods. You would still want to be outraged and where the fuck is my daughter? Not put on a just act like nothing's happening. That doesn't happen if you don't know something is wrong.
Well, she's claiming that's what happened. She's claiming that she didn't know where Caylee went. The last time she saw her daughter was with her father after she found her outside dripping wet.
Yeah.
And after that, her father basically told her, like, you need to act like everything's fine. Just poker face, tunnel vision, act like everything's okay. Don't let anyone think anything's wrong. Just do what you have to do.
10 times worse.
So she went out, she partied, she got a tattoo, she did this, she did that. And she claims that she learned how to be so coy and cover up her feelings and, pretend like nothing's wrong because she had to do that for 4 years while her father was molesting her. Well, there's many people, forensic, psychologists, not forensic psychologists, but psychologists, people who are good at doing, reading body language, psychics and this and that. All of them say, like, all of her interviews, the special on Peacock, everything points to the fact that she's lying and that she killed her daughter.
Yeah.
But
you want to say that she didn't. I see it in you. You're sitting
it's not
there,
that I want to say that she didn't.
You.
I just don't think she did it on. If she did, I don't think she did it on purpose. I'll put it that way. I think maybe accidentally something may have happened. Maybe she had accidentally drowned in the pool. Maybe she had accidentally given her Xanax. I don't know.
What gives you that clue, though?
I don't see. It's just my where I have that wall up. I don't understand how someone can kill their daughter, like, and have it be just like on purpose. I want this person dead. I don't want this little girl in my life anymore. And then 14 years later, get on national TV and talk about, like, I miss my daughter. Like, I don't understand how someone can, and like, why would they give her a platform? Like, why?
Well, why do they give OJ?
I don't get it. I don't understand.
Why do they give any, like, Teresa, you have to understand, especially because in this world, in this society, and this is going to go through every episode that we touch, every true crime that we touch. And when it comes to mystery murders and when it comes to just murders in general, it is a news story. It is sweeps week. It is going to sit there and it is going to be the biggest thing on TV because Americans like yourself can't get enough of it. I know you. You're infatuated with murder mysteries.
Mm-hmm.
And you think that not.
Oh, we have 4 theories, right? Want to go through them quickly?
Quickly, let's go through.
Theory number 1: Caylee drowned accidentally.
Okay.
Jose Baez, Caylee Anthony's defense attorney, stunned observers when he presented a previously unheard theory.
Yeah, we went through this.
Yes. Okay. Theory number 2: George Anthony, Casey's father, drowned Caylee.
Okay. That also.
Number 3: convicted kidnapper Vasco Thompson conspired with George Anthony. Don't know who Vasco Thompson is, but in one weird turn that ultimately went nowhere, Caylee Anthony's defense team sought to question Orlando resident Vasco Thompson, a convicted felon sentenced to 10 years in 1988 for kidnapping. Casey's attorneys claim Thompson was connected to George Anthony through his cell phone records. Thompson responded by telling reporters, "I don't know how they got me involved in all this mess. I have no idea who George Anthony is." Records show 4 calls between George Anthony and Thompson on July 14th, 2008, the day before Caylee was reported missing.
Huh.
Theory number 4: Caylee Anthony is an Illuminati puppet. That's where we exit this website.
No. Read it. I really want to know.
We're including this one just to demonstrate how deeply the Caylee Anthony case permeated the public psyche, to the point that it reached the furthermost fringes of frankly nuttiness and led to what gossip columnist Perez Hilton called the craziest lawsuit ever. In October 2012, a Pennsylvania woman named Naomi Riches filed a $3 billion lawsuit against Caylee Anthony, alleging that the Tot Mom was an agent of the secret world-ruling society, the Illuminati, and that Caylee Anthony had threatened to kill her. According to the suit, Riches claims Caylee Anthony called my house in August 2011 and told me that my life was being exploited and that I was a hated nation wife. She told me that she would come to my house in Fort Collins, Colorado, and kill me just as they did Peggy Hetrick in 1987. She let me know that my left eye would be stabbed out as a part of the Illuminati symbolism. She told me that the government was going to find a way to tap into my water pipes and poison my water supply.
The government came and killed my baby.
I was terrified to shower and drink water for months. I had to spend $600 on bottled water. Judge David Baker, the lucky official assigned to the case, tossed the suit out, stating the fantastic allegations do not meet the plausibility standard.
She was just mad because she doesn't like drinking tap water.
So those are 4 theories.
Listen,
crazy fucking theories.
Getting back to my point about the whole thing, yes, it's very plausible that she turned around to Peacock and NBC, that's owned by Peacock, and said, I will do a special talking about my feeling, and you have to pay me. I guarantee she made a lot of money off it. And the reason is because Peacock's going to say, crazy people like you is going to sit there and watch it and be so invested in getting back into this whole crime thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very plausible that she could sit there and say, yeah, I killed my kid, got away with it, and now I'm making money off of it.
Okay. Maybe she's just crazy.
So if you're going to say she's crazy.
I don't mean she needs to be tried for insanity. I mean she's just fucking nuts.
If she's nuts, that means she might be nuts enough to kill her kid.
Yeah.
Okay. So how could you sit there and say, I don't see how anybody can just...
Well, now I say that she's probably fucking nuts enough to kill her kid. And then make money off of it.
I think that's where we're gonna end
Chase
this
that
episode.
bag. I'm
Bruh.
kidding.
I think this is where we're gonna end our episode. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you
You
again.
sound like despondent. It's like, ugh. Thanks for listening.
And again, thank you for joining us.
Yes. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoy me on these podcasts because you're not getting rid of me. And hopefully I get to decide next week's one or the next time we do it again.
And thank you for we're gonna have little again. Thank you guys. Catch Is This Real on every Sunday. Please go listen, and we'll